Hello, friends and fellow board gamers. Welcome back to Board Games with Rob. I'm laughing because as the more and more I do these videos, the more I develop a strong sense of appreciation for others that are in the content providing business that put together videos like this because there's so many takes. At least for me, there are so many takes that we put when putting these videos together. I've done at least a half a dozen retries. Some people may cut their videos and do various different cuts, cut out the mistakes. Some are just naturals at it and can do it in a single take. But not me, not yet. And I was laughing because I start out all my videos typically with, I'm so excited about this video. And it's true. Every time that I start a new video, I'm typically doing it about a game that I'm really, or an experience that I'm very excited about. So without further ado, I am very excited about this video. And I'm going to be talking about a game that was recently sent to me by a very good friend of mine, Ignazi, the owner of Portal Games, also a designer himself that has put out a bunch of games under his own publishing title or company. But this one is one that I was really excited to get because I'm a big, huge fan of deck builders. I go back to Dominion, the granddaddy of them all. But more importantly, I really fancied Thunderstone. Thunderstone's probably my all-time favorite deck building game that has a lot of a history with it. I started with the very basic vanilla flavored Thunderstone and have seen it evolve over time. But Bohemians, the game that I'm going to be talking about today, that is just being introduced at Essen, which is going on right now as I'm recording this video, 2025, is just that a deck building game. It doesn't reinvent the wheel or the deck building mechanic, but it introduces some really cool flavors, a really neat theme that we have yet to see in the industry, gorgeous artwork. And so let's go down to the table. Let me tell you about how it plays, give you an overview of the game, and then we'll come back up here and I'll give you my thoughts on one of my favorite deck building or one of my favorite board game mechanisms, deck building. All right, folks, I've got the game set up for 2 players. And right out of the bat, there it does play 1 to 4 players. It's designed by Jasper Delange. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not familiar with his designs. This is, like I said, it'll play 1 to 4 players, and each player will have their own starter deck that will essentially have the same cards, but each deck is signified by this, in this case, it's musical notes, and there's 3 other decks here. They're not colored. Uh, the color of the cards are going to be different, and the composition of each deck is going to be the same. So there are colors. You'll notice that the color of the cards are different, and then the symbols on the left and the right of the card are going to be different, and therein is going to lie where you get your quote unquote currency to do things in this game. And I'll explain that a little bit further in just a little bit. Now, each player will have a unique player board. There's 4 different player boards. Specifically, these 2 sides, the left and the right side, you'll notice that they're different for each player. Outside of that, they're going to be the same. Now, each player will pick one of 4 different jobs. In this case, I've got the cabaret attendant, and over here, this person is the busker. Now, there will be typically a one-time startup ability that's unique on each of these. So, for example, this one will start out with 10 on the Atelier board, and that is a tracker that you'll accumulate points on here, which will allow you to do one of 4 different things during the game. I'll explain this board here in a bit. This player would gain a random habit card from, and that there's 2 different types of cards outside of your starting cards that you have to purchase. There's a couple others here that I'll mention. There are habits, which are the main cards that you'll play up in this row of the board. And then there are muses, which you'll play below, and they're here, and this is your market. You can purchase from your market. There will be 4 cards that are on display. So I mention that only because the starting power here will allow you to gain a random habit card and shuffle it into your deck, thus giving you 11 cards to start up. Each deck, again, and I didn't mention that, is 10 cards. You'll shuffle that deck, and then you will create a hand of 5. And everybody will do that. There will be a first player token. And so therein, you'd lay out the atelier board. You would have objective cards, and they start at 8 and go down to 15. And the object of the game in the multiplayer game is to be the first person to obtain 5 objective cards. That will signal the end of the game. And let's see, there are also hardship cards that I have set up here, which I'll explain how you will get them here in a moment as well. So what you'll do on your turn, there's a variety of different stages in the game. In the beginning, everybody simultaneously will start playing their cards out to their board. Now, you're going to want to focus on playing these so that a couple things are important. Number one, you're wanting to match up these symbols on the board. If you notice, here, let me play this out. As you can see, I have lined up the heart symbol and a lock symbol. I've placed out my job card, and then I've been able to match up an eye and a heart symbol here. So what you would do, once everybody has played all 4 cards, now if I had any of these muse cards, I could play them as well, and they're played underneath, and you can play 1 card per above, and there's some stipulations to where you may or may not be able to play them. If you look at the top of the card, there are 4 parts of the day from early morning to late night, and the top of the card will dictate where you can play them to, what slots, as well as some of the cards will have a restriction on what card above it has to be played to. So for example, this one would need to be played to the green card, so I meet the requirement there. I've got the late evening slot available, and I'm playing it under a green card. So the effect here would be that I could spend 2 less inspiration when purchasing a objective card, which are going to be important. That's going to be a very important ability. Now, how do I get inspiration? Well, you get inspiration for each symbol that you're able to form. So in this case, I was able to get 1 heart completed, 1 lock, 1 eye symbol, 1 heart, and if you notice, I was able to match the color of the card on these ends. That will give me another inspiration times 2 for each side. So I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inspiration. So if I had enough, this would allow me to purchase an objective card. If I had 6, I could purchase it for 2 less. Notice I spent my job card here. Now, maybe I didn't want to do that because of that ability that I had there. Maybe I wanted to trigger or somehow get an extra symbol like I could have done with this card, which, by the way, this is a wild card. Notice it's gray. It's not a specific color, so it will meet the requirements of some of these. Like if I was to play it here on the green, it would count for making a green card, and I'd be able to get that extra inspiration bonus. But let's say in this case, I played this out onto the board. In this case, I would have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inspiration. And with this power down here, allowing me to purchase one of these for 2 less, I would have been able to purchase this for 6 and have an extra inspiration left over. Now that comes into play on the atelier board, because any extra inspiration that you have at the end of your round, you can then take and use here. It's a way for being able to capture extra inspiration so that it's not lost. You can have at most 10. Now that's going to be important because now I'm 1/5 of the way to completing my end game objective by having an objective card. However, I was not able to play my job card. If at any time you cannot play your job card, or choose not to, I should say, then that's how you would gain a hardship card. So in this case, I would gain poor hygiene. And during the wake up phase, which is the very beginning of the card, the round, I would have to discard a habit card, which is bad. It's going to bring my hand size down to 4 immediately. Whenever you draw one of these cards, And notice that there is a symbol up top there. That symbol you're going to see on a variety of different cards. That means that you will, when you're drawing cards, you would draw an extra card. This doesn't count as your 5 card limit when you're drawing cards. And any of your hardship cards that you would play, they remain up here for the duration of that round. You can accumulate any number of hardship cards. They're bad. So therein lies part of the dilemma is, when do I play? You want to play this because you don't want to get hardship cards. You want to play your job. But sometimes by not playing your job card, you're going to be able to get more inspiration, which will allow you to purchase more stuff. That 7 inspiration I could have used to purchase cards from the market. And notice the costs for purchasing these cards are below at the very bottom of the card. So anything for 7, which seems to be the cost for all of these muse cards, and then a variety of different costs here, anywhere from 4 to 6 for here. I can purchase any amount of cards from the market that I can afford using my inspiration. And then again, anything that I was not able to use, I could carry over on my atelier board. Now, the atelier board, there are 4 different things that I can do as a free action during my turn. I can spend 3 to clear the market and refresh those cards. I could spend 4. Now that's going to be important, to ignore a hardship card. So let's say I had drawn this, I could spend 4 points to allow me to ignore the effect of that hardship card. I could spend 5 to draw 2 new cards into my hand. Maybe I don't like the cards that I've been dealt and I want to get more of a choice to be able to line up more icons on the board. Or lastly, 6 will allow you to reject a card. That allows you to thin out your deck. That's your main mechanism of being able to get rid of hardship cards, or maybe some of those starter cards. Rejecting means taking a played card out of the display area that you've played and get them out of the game. That's essentially going to be your turn. You will buy stuff using your points, use free actions, and then you'll switch the first player marker to the next person. Everybody does their purchasing in turn order. I'll show you some of these different cards that we've got access to. And notice some of these, let me look through the deck. There's a whole big deck here, but what's really cool about them, some of them will provide you multiple symbols. So if I was able to, say, make that combo, I'd be getting 2 locks just on that one side. So a lot of these cards here, you can see on this green card to the right up there, there's 2 eye symbols. And on the bottom left, there's 2 of those masks. So a lot of these cards are going to build up your different icons, allowing you to gain more inspiration during the turn. And they're all going to have a variety of different special abilities down there on the bottom. Here I would gain 2 inspiration. And if I don't play my job, I'd gain inspiration if I played in a particular spot. So a lot of these may reward you on playing in one of the 4 different areas. Here's one that would gain you inspiration for each eye during your routine. Your routine is that's your action of playing your 4 cards down on a particular turn. Here's one that gains you inspiration for a different icon. Here and this is a beginning of the round ability, I would be able to gain 2 cards. So as is typical with deck building games, a lot of these cards are going to allow you to build up your engine so as you get more symbols, allowing you to build up more inspiration. Some of them will allow you to draw different cards from your deck. And as is typical with any deck building game, whenever you have to draw, you will, at the end of your round during cleanup, you will clean all the cards that you played, put them into your discard, and then draw 5 new cards from your deck. If you're ever unable to do so, then you shuffle your discards back into your draw deck and draw your 5 cards. Eventually, the cards that you purchased will be recycled into your deck, and you'll start drawing those cards. So a bunch of different mechanisms here going on, the hardship cards, the objective cards. I should also say that the objective cards will allow you one time to be able to flip them over to spend 1 less on one of these abilities on the atelier board. And if you had multiple objectives, you could spend multiple cards to discount never less than 1 for any of those special powers. You'll keep going until somebody obtains their fifth objective card. Now, I should say this has a wonderful solo aspect to it. There are three different scenarios that have been created for the game that are just gorgeous. I mean, they have special rules for each scenario, different boards, different cards that are specific to each scenario. I'll let you discover those on your own. The only solo game that I've played is the standard one where you're trying to get a certain amount of cards before the deck runs out. It's kind of like the standard intro solo game, but I have not tried any of these solo scenarios, which are just absolutely gorgeous. That is Bohemians and essentially how you play the game. Let's go back up to the top and I will give you my thoughts on Bohemians. All right, everybody, that was how to play Bohemians. And it's, as you probably gathered, a very simple game, that meaning there's not a lot of rules. Now, there's a lot of strategy and a lot of complexity to this, and therein lies the beauty of Bohemians, as well as the artwork. I gotta say, the artwork, which if you call something Bohemians, if you name your game Bohemians, you're going to expect it to be about art or artistic flavor, and this game is full of that and very thematic, I thought. So I will say that this is the first time that I've ever been given syphilis or given it to somebody else as a card in the card game. It's one of the hardship cards, and probably one of the things I like least about the game. Again, it's a hardship deck, and some of the hardships are pretty dire. This one's a pretty graphic card, but outside of that, I mean, there's narcissism, there's syphilis again, there's abject poverty, there is a broken heart. So definitely some really nasty, the lure of death. Um, Probably very thematic, homelessness. So um, these hardship cards can be very thematically depressing, which is probably my only negative about the game. It probably plays in very much well to the theme, which is why I guess I can stand it. Um, but that is probably the only negative thing about the game. Um, I do love this game. I rate this, I'll get right to it. I rate this game a 9. I will preface this by saying that deck building is one of my favorite mechanisms in a board game. Like I mentioned at the intro, uh, Thunderstone is one of my favorite all-time games, and that's mainly a deck building game. And everything typically tends to be compared to Dominion, which was probably the if not the first uh, deck building centric game that came out. Nowadays, every game lends a deck building mechanic to it. For example, Lost Ruins of Arnak, where you've got a lot going on, and deck building is just a single aspect of that game. Another game, Dune Imperium, a lot of different games will include deck building as a single mechanic, but Bohemians is a pure deck building game. What I like about this game is the way that you get your currency or your inspiration. I love the puzzly aspect of this game in trying to line up those icons and where they each equal an inspiration, and how the decision of whether or not you play your job card is crucial. Do I play it knowing that I'm not going to have as much inspiration, or do I risk getting that hardship card? But then knowing that if I get those extra inspiration points and allow myself to fill out that atelier board, then I can negate that. So it's not so much a hardship as long as I'm getting those points on there. And then I could maybe get rid of the card altogether, knowing that I'll have to suffer it at least when I play it, because you can only reject cards that you've played. So I would have to have played that hardship card. But there's just a lot of this game is puzzly, and I like that about the game. There's still some player interaction, i.e. the syphilis card, and there are a lot of in the 3-player or higher count. There are these I didn't mention that in the intro. There's these three-player plus cards. They're mainly these wild cards that add some a lot of player interaction into the game that aren't introduced in the one or two player game. But I like the puzzly aspect of this. I love the artwork. The artists, one of the art, Tomas Jedrzejek, um, and there's three or four. Matthews Kapas, Roman Kukarski, Hanna Keek. I know I'm butchering those, and I hate doing that. So correct me if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm all for the criticism on that. The weight, I'm looking at Board Game Geek. The weight is at a 2.2. It's not a very weighty game, but it's a very Euro-y game in that it's puzzly. And then all of that aside, you're trying to focus on getting those objective cards, which are ever increasing. So what starts out, maybe not that hard to get as an 8, that's going to be a 9, a 10, 11, all the way up to 15. So as you're bettering your engine, those objective cards are getting harder. So you're having to beat out other players to get those and build up your engine. And so getting some of those cards like I revealed there in the how to play of making things those objective cards cost less money are going to be important. So I love the way this game plays. It's a unique deck builder, one that is a small footprint. The box is very small. And I love this art. I love this artwork. This brushed, artistic looking artwork that's very all over the game. It's an artist's artwork, it just is just gorgeous. A lot of time and money must have been spent on a lot of care, I should say, was put into the artwork on these cards. So it's a home run. I'm knocking it a little bit because of some of those hardship cards. I don't particularly care, and that's my own preference for giving people syphilis. I can give that card. I could just as well keep that card out of the deck. But man, some of those hardships are very depressing. Just the names of them and the artwork on the card, which that lends to the theme of the game. So I can't knock it too much. It is what it is. um, Definitely not a game that I would play with kids. It's more of an adult themed game, but one that I really enjoy the gameplay very, very much, and I is definitely a hit from Portal Games for me. So tell me some of your thoughts about the game. Do the hardship cards even matter to you? Is that a problem for you, or are you okay with that theme? What's your thought about on the theme, Bohemians? We don't see that theme anywhere that I can think of in gaming. This is the first time I've seen it. What are your thoughts about deck building games in particular? Do you enjoy just the deck building mechanic? Do you like it better when it's introduced into a game, a much bigger game? Or do you like deck building games yourself? Give me your thoughts, post a comment, like the video, please. That helps me tremendously. But more importantly, friends, have fun gaming, and even more important than that, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.